opening. I love that opening sequence. I wish I could name the person to give credit to for that, but I can't until I'm given permission. But I think it's really effective and really good. It's fire, man. It's fire. How's everybody doing? We've got Jack and Susan and Kay on the panel tonight. How are you doing?
Woohoo! Rosetta Grate. Crazy time. Crazy. Join the crazy train.
Yep. Jack knows.
Gonna try to read it right.
Oh, we're gonna try. Oh, listen. Before I let Kay and Susan talk, this is going to take a lot of restraint from me to behave like an adult. Just putting that out there.
You can do it, Rhonda.
I can do it. I'll try. I'm tired, so that doesn't help either. Oh, Susan! Susan is back from an amazing, 9 or 10 day camping trip. How are you doing? You feeling a little bit better today, Susan?
10 days. Well, I slept half the day, so I'm still catching up on my rest. But I also got a lot done. A lot of laundry done.
Yeah. That's not any fun.
Yeah.
That's the boring stuff. Well, we're glad to have you back. It's different.
Glad to be back.
We don't have Susan's voice and all the fun stuff we do. And Kay, how's it going?
Going all right. Nothing
new. On that mower today?
Not today.
Okay, good. That's good because that's hard work. So, and in the background, over Kay's direction, we have Stacy. He's going to be my co-giggler or laugher or immaturity buddy. I don't know, but we got Stacy in the background.
He's laughing, but I'm going to mute him.
No, I don't want to.
Be all alone, acting like a 14-year-old fool.
She's already muting him. Stacy, I'm on your side. We are saying that because this is some pretty interesting preliminary testimony from Rosetta Grate. And it's just a preliminary testimony. We won't even be doing trial testimony until next week. So she's an interesting character, no doubt. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody to please subscribe and share and like this video and my channel. And thank you again, as always, to Foul Play, Jack, for streaming my stream in Foul Play's YouTube. That's awesome and helpful as well. Yeah, I think it's helped quite a bit, so I really appreciate it. Hi, Justine. It's great to see you. Great to see you over here and chatting in my channel. I really appreciate that. I just want to address really quickly. Hey, Colette. It's great to see you. Welcome. I want to just address something super quick before we start reading. This is only 24 pages long, so it's not like we don't have a little bit of time, but I just want to say I've never really gotten a lot of comment activity in any of our videos at all, hardly, very little. I'd like to see that change, of course, because I think a lot of education can go on in the comment sections. But in my most recent video that we did last week, there was a couple of guilters, and I've never had guilters in my comment section before. A couple have snuck in the chat here and there over the years, but really not very much at all. So I just wanted to make a comment. One of the guilters, one of the guilters said something about it was weird that I was flexing for a wrongful conviction of a serial rapist. And I thought that was strange. I thought that's really a weird thing to say. You can go read the comments, go check out last week's video and read the comments yourself. And I don't let shit like that just go with as much respect as I can muster and intelligence. I address it, and I'll call people out on some stuff like, show me your proof. Where's your proof? I want to see. Show me what you have, because maybe there's something that I don't know. And if you do have that, then please let me know. So I just encourage you, but I'm going to always stand up for wrongful convictions. I'm always going to advocate for somebody who's been wrongfully convicted. I don't care if somebody thinks that's a weird flex for me to do so. And I know that Jack feels the same way, and Susan and Kay and Cherie and Alice. And I know we all feel the same way. People can think what they want and say what they want, but I'm never going to stop defending a wrongful conviction as long as I could take my last breath and do it. So, excuse me. But anyway, the thing that really kind of pissed me off was that one of the commenters, I can't remember what her name was now, but it doesn't matter. It's how much it means to me. But what was interesting is I realized that people, what this commenter did was she made her comment, some, snide comment, whatever it was, and then said, and I have nothing, she said something, and I'm going to paraphrase, I don't have anything else to say about it, and now I'm going to block your channel. Bye. And I'm like, you little bitch. You're going to go ahead and just say what you want and call me what you want, and then just say bye and then block me so that you don't have to, receive my response. And that's fine. It's, I mean, it's whatever, but I just think that's pretty chicken. That's a little chicken shit for me. So I just.
Did you say she used the word flexing?
One of them said that it was a weird flex for me to be covering the wrongful conviction of a serial rapist.
My 8-year-old nephew just used that word at Winfield, as a matter of fact. And he had some Pokemon cards that he was proud of. And there were a couple other kids that hadn't gotten there yet. And he said, I can't wait to flex these. And I'm like, what does flex mean?
Oh, interesting.
And he said, it means brag.
Really?
I had never heard that. So I guess that's a new phrase.
Yeah.
Term,
I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that referenced a couple times. I had to look up the slang or what the slang meant.
Right.
I'll have to ask my grandkids, because that does mean something different. So I'll have to ask them. They've taught me all kinds of weird words that they use now, and I'm like,
right,
what?
right. It was like flex. What do you mean, Eli?
Yeah.
What the heck does flex mean?
Yeah, that's funny.
Well,
I know
what it meant back in my day. Oh, never mind.
Well, Jack, he loves being the only male on the panel.
He does.
He does. He likes it.
Well, there are times that I could use a friend. Lifeline. Throw me a rope.
Hey, any of our brothers are welcome to jump on anytime they want to, but you're the only one brave enough to take us on.
I'm just saying, 99.9% of the time it's fantastic, but there's times that you guys have really got me wired up in the corner, like strung up. Can't get out.
Oh, come on.
I do not believe you. We cannot possibly have that power over you. I don't believe it.
Well, when you put me in a, I don't know what kind of knot you'd call it. It's one of those knots that, you just can't get out of it automatically. You got to work at it. And hands tied up, strung up by my, nads, whatever.
Whatever. You're so funny.
I'm kidding. They're great.
I know he's kidding. He likes it. He likes getting teased. He likes also speaking for all men. Whenever we have a male-oriented question or thought or comment, he's right there to take all the, take it all for all the men. So we appreciate him for that as well. Okay, so I'm hoping that, I know that Cherie has a meeting. She might be listening to us right now, driving on her way home from work, or she might be in the meeting. I'm not sure, but she's going to try and join us. I've given the link for Alice. I haven't heard from her, but she may be popping in as well on the panel, so that would be great. But we're going to go ahead and get started with this interesting. Let me find it here. Focus Rhonda. There it is. Preliminary hearing for Rosetta Grate. So for in Oklahoma, they do preliminary hearings for pretrial. Other places might call them pre-trial hearings. Just different things, but it's all the same thing. It's the little testimony that takes place so that the judge can determine if it's a case that merits going to trial on. And so this is the one for Rosetta Grate. So Lori McConnell is going to be the one doing the questioning for the state, and that is going to be read by Susan. And Jack is he's my solid Scott Adams guy. So Jack will be doing cross-examination. And then Kay begged me. She absolutely begged to be able to read the part for Rosetta Grate.
Dying to read this.
She's really excited to read it. I don't know what we're going to do during the trial because, well, I guess it'll still work. Yeah, it'll still work because, well, never mind. That's a couple weeks away. But anyway, so that's going to be the rundown. I will probably catch the parts of the court reporter and of the court.
The judge.
The judge. Here come the judge.
Here comes the judge.
I will start on line 7, and we'll go from there.
Alrighty.
Rosetta Renee Grate was called as a witness after having been first duly sworn and testified as follows. Ms. McConnell.
Will you tell me how old you are, Ms. Grates?
38.
38. And I want to talk to you about April 24, 2014. Okay?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. On April 24, 2014, did you come into contact with an Oklahoma City police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you whenever you came into contact with him?
On 14th, Northeast 14th and Jordan.
Is that in Oklahoma County?
Yes, ma'am.
And what had you been doing in Northeast 14th and Jordan that day?
I had been relapsing and getting high off of crack cocaine.
And whenever you made contact with this police officer, were you by yourself or with other people?
By myself.
And how did the officer make contact with you?
He was approaching me from westbound. I was facing northbound. I was facing south.
Was he on foot or in a car?
In a car.
And was he by himself or with other officers?
By himself.
What did his car look like?
Black. All black with white lettering.
Like one of the newer police cars?
Yes.
Whenever he made contact with you, did he say anything to you?
What am I doing? What am I doing?
That's what he asked you?
Yes.
And what did you tell him?
I was a nervous wreck, and so I was relapsing. I told him I was relapsing, I didn't have no business off over here anyways, and go ahead.
After you told him that, what did he do?
He searched my little black, I have a purse, and found my crack pipe, and then...
He found your crack pipe?
Yeah.
And was that in your purse?
Yes.
What did he do after he found your crack pipe?
What did you say?
What did you do after he found your crack pipe?
I was babbling on and on because, I was still nervous about it. I shouldn't have been over there and stuff like that. And he was just steady watching, kind of looking around,
Did he give your crack pipe back to you, or did he do something else with it?
I remember it was broken up, I think. He asked me to throw it, I believe. It was thrown down on the ground. I think I threw it.
So, in any case, you know it was broken?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he offer to give you a ride?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did you accept that ride?
Yes.
And where did you ask him to take you?
633 Culbertson Drive.
Is that in Oklahoma County?
Yes.
And was that the place that you were living at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you live there by yourself or with other people?
I lived there with my man,
With your who?
with my boyfriend at the time,
And what's his name?
Will Carter.
And did the officer take you there?
Yes.
What happened after you got there?
When we got out the car, when he opened up the back door and I got out, and I was like, well, where is my purse, And he was like, you don't have it? And then he checked back in his front seat and he was like, really? I was like, no, because I remember he set it on top of the car and he was like, I'll go back and get it. And I was like, don't even worry about it. It's not going to be there. It's a drug area. Just don't worry about it. I'm just trying to depart, separate from him.
So, whenever you got to the house, that's when you discovered that your purse was missing?
Yes.
Okay. What happened after that?
Then I started walking towards the door and he was walking with me. And at first it was odd, but I wasn't going to question him, I didn't,
Sure.
because I knew I was still in the wrong of just being in, I guess, the area.
Let me ask you, Miss Grate, have you encountered police officers before?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever received rides from them to your home?
One received a ride to detox off of the northwest side, and then another one took me to my brother's from 11th and Penn.
But was getting rides something that was normal for police officers to give you?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't normal, but it was, I didn't feel like that I would be I didn't feel threatened, I didn't feel like it would be something wrong.
Okay. Whenever you got to your house, was it normal for a police officer to kind of escort you to your front door?
No.
But you had told me earlier.
Did you? Oh, okay. Can you re-ask that question?
Sure. Was it normal for a police officer to escort you to your front door?
No. Now, that's when my spirit was like, something is just strange about that.
I'm sorry.
I feel the spirit move me.
I'm trying and you're not helping.
Did he go inside the house with you?
Yes. When he came to the door, I was like, because it's in the big house additions, and I'm out there looking homeless. So I thought maybe he thought, did I live in this big home? It was. And so when I opened up the door, I said, see, this is the living room. And so that's what I thought. That's what came to me. And I started thinking, I was like, this is the kitchen. Did I really live there? Because and then
So you thought that the reason why he was coming in was to make sure that this was actually your home?
yes.
And you kind of started showing him around.
Yes.
Was there anyone else in the house whenever you got there?
No, Will wasn't there.
Is this a 1-story house or a 2-story house?
2-story house.
So where did you go once you got in the house?
So we walked in and I said, like, this is a room. This is the kitchen. And then when you go the stairs to separate, or not the kitchen, the dining room. And then when you walk to the other room, the stairs that go upstairs separate you from the kitchen. So I was like, that's the kitchen. And then Will, that was like my second relapse. So Will, I went from living in Will's room to the next door room. So I just wanted to make sure he seen my bed, to make sure, my room,
What the hell?
And let me understand.
I mean, well, okay.
Let me interrupt you, Miss Grate.
Okay.
Did I understand you correctly when you said that your bedroom was an upstairs part of the house?
Yes, there is 4 bedrooms, 2 with beds.
Okay, but your bedroom was in the upstairs part.
Yes, it's all upstairs. All the bedrooms are upstairs.
Okay, I understand. So, and he followed you up the stairs to your bedroom?
Yes. Or he followed me upstairs, because I was still showing. And then I was like, this is Will's room. And then I was like, Will got mad. So now I'm sleeping in this room. And then that's the end of the showing, because at that point is when he interrupted me.
Okay. And what happened when he interrupted you?
He was like, go ahead and have a seat. And he was like, this is, better than the county. He was preparing himself.
And you said he told you to have a seat? Where did he tell you to have a seat?
On my bed.
Dear God.
Okay. What happened after he said this? This is better than county.
He was preparing himself. He was unzipping his pants to pull out his male hood.
Yeah, that's where guys keep their hoods at. I feel terrible laughing, but
Okay, someone snorted.
So sorry. I've never seen that word before.
To pull out his male hood?
yeah. And then Rocky will have to instruct him to put it back up, of course.
Put it back up.
Yep.
Sorry.
Or maybe I'm sorry. Maybe that's going to be Blinker that does that. I can't recall. It's probably her though.
Okay. And did he expose his penis to you?
Yes.
And you said he was unzipping his pants. Did he take his pants down?
No.
Okay. So did he pull his penis through his fly?
Yes.
What happened after that?
And so I started performing.
What do you mean by that, Ms. Grate?
I gave him oral sex. Oral sex.
So his penis went into your mouth?
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Where? Were you still sitting on the bed whenever that happened?
Yes.
And where was he?
Standing up in front of me.
Okay. Was there...
I sat down like this, and he was standing in front of me.
Okay.
I just got to question her line of her questioning here. If she's doing that, he wouldn't be standing downstairs in the kitchen. I mean, unless
I know.
unless we get a fire hose situation going on now, that's different. That's a different thing. Okay. I'm just saying, her line of questioning is stupid. It's
really
absolutely stupid. Where's he standing at, or where was he at? Well,
No,
he
they're
was in the.
upstairs.
I know.
Oh, wait, okay.
which is why
That's what
it's
I
a
was.
stupid question.
Gotcha.
She says he's giving him oral sex, and then she asks, "Well, where were you stand? Where was he standing?" Well, he was there. He was right in front of me.
Okay. Did he have his gun on when that was happening?
Yes, yes, his gun. That was all that was still there close to my face.
So you saw it while you were.
Yes.
How long did that last?
Roughly about maybe 10 minutes because then he wanted to have sex at that point. So he told me to lay back and
So did you lay back on the bed that you were sitting on?
yes,
And then what did he do after you laid back?
got on top me and inserted himself inside of me.
So he put his penis in your vagina?
Uh-huh.
Was that a yes or a no, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Whenever he put his penis in your mouth, Miss Grate, did he ejaculate?
Inside of my mouth? No.
Whenever he put his penis inside your vagina, did he ejaculate at that time?
I want to say that he did because afterwards, when I wiped, I wasn't for sure because I wasn't for sure because he didn't make no sounds or nothing, and I just wasn't for sure. It it was a real intense, but when I had wiped later, I believe that, maybe pre-cum, I'm pretty sure, there was some fluid transfer.
Okay, and how long did the sex last?
I want to say probably another 10 minutes.
Dang. What made it stop?
I think because he was kind of looking out because my bedroom is over the front lawn and he was looking out. Maybe he got nervous. I don't really know. I could see he was looking like out the window and then back at me at that point.
So, did he leave immediately from your house after that stopped, or did he stay for a while?
No, he immediately left. He got up and zipped up his
You had told me that you had wiped yourself.
yes.
Did you do that right after he left or around that time period?
Yeah, I grabbed this rag and wiped it, and my closet was right in front of me, and I just threw it right in the closet.
Oh. In in the bedroom closet where you had been?
Yes.
Had you ever been stopped by this officer before, Miss Grate?
No, not to my knowledge.
Did you tell anyone about what had happened to you?
Yes.
Who did you tell?
I told my man when he came home because I had already, we'd been arguing and that was my reason, that's why I was there because I definitely didn't want to go back outside. And then later on, I told my father and
You told me you told your man. Did you tell him that same night?
yes, same. It wasn't even that much longer before he got back there.
Did you call the police that night?
No.
Why didn't you call the police?
Because I'm in a drug program and I knew I was relapsing and I'm, sell, sell my body. So I don't know.
Did you think,
It's just something I don't know. I was scared, because I was still going through, a man at that point, some arguing, it just intensified everything. I didn't really know what to do, to be honest with you.
did you ever see the officer again after this?
Wednesday, I was walking down Highland off of Northeast Highland and I relapsed again. And me and a friend of mine, we was walking and I was about to start walking toward his house. The police officer and friend with the same kind of car was like, "Hey, and I was like, "Oh my god." And so I was like, I know I'm trying to act like I'm not seeing him, because I couldn't believe. He was like as if it was some friend or something of mine. And so I was trying to play it off and still walk toward the back. And he had stopped and put on his brake and he was still looking. I could see out of my peripheral vision that he was still looking, and stuff. And so went into the back house and we went around the block a lot. He was circling. It was for a minute, and then when I seen the coast was clear, I ran off.
I gotta interrupt.
This
I'm sorry. You know how I can tell she's lying?
Because and stuff.
I know because of the level of these stupid details she keeps putting in there.
yeah.
She just keeps adding,
She can
digging
see
herself
out
hole.
her peripheral vision.
Yeah. But I sell my body and stuff, but I was scared. What?
Yeah.
That didn't work too well together. Not for me if I was a juror. But yeah, all
He
this
stopped
extra.
and put on his brake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
Another
just-
extraneous detail that's like, what?
Mhm.
It's unnecessary.
Right, and
Yeah,
that's
great point,
that's
Jack.
that seems to be typical when people are trying to sell their story. In other words, lying. Anyway,
Yeah.
I apologize.
No,
Susan.
you're
Go ahead.
fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
I agree with you, Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, we all do.
Well, Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Ms. Grate, I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 6 and 7. Will you take a look at those and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, that's my home, and that's
Are they a fair and accurate depiction of your home and your room as you remember them from May of 2014?
yes, except for there was a dresser there too. There was a dresser.
Okay, was the furniture different?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I move to admit State's Exhibit 6 and 7.
No objection.
States 6 and 7 are admitted without objection.
May I approach the witness again, Your Honor?
You may.
Ms. Grate, I think you were telling me that State's Exhibit 6 was your home for May 2014.
Witness
Is
not.
that a yes? Oh, sorry. Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that the home where the officer took you?
Yes, ma'am.
And in State's Exhibit 7, you had told me, I think, was your bedroom.
Yes, that's
And you had told me that there was a dresser in the bedroom. Is the bed still in the same place?
yeah, the bed is still in the same place, and that's the closet right there.
Is that the bed you were sitting on?
Yes.
Okay. And this chair was there at that time?
No, that chair, no. The dresser was right here, and the chair was turned around the other way. It was turned around the other way.
Okay. This officer that you talked about, Ms. Grates, do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you tell me where he's seated and what he's wearing?
All black tuxedo. Or not tuxedo.
Too late. You already said it. It's already been said.
Tuxedo. Is he to your
Well,
left or to your right?
He's got ballroom dancing later, so. Holy shit.
My left.
Okay, and there's 3 men sitting here with suits. If there is a man who is furthest away from judge and a man,
Rhonda.
judge,
Let's just wait until she asks you a question.
Okay, I apologize.
I'll start over again, Ms. Grate. If there is a man who is furthest away from the judge, and a man in the middle, and a man who is closest to the judge, which one is the officer?
Closest one to the judge.
Your Honor, may the record reflect identification of the defendant as the officer who stopped Ms. Grate on April 24, 2014.
Record will so reflect.
May I have a brief moment?
Yes, ma'am.
And I may have asked you this, Ms. Grate. I'm sorry. The house that you told me that the officer took you to where you were living in April of 2014,
Yes, ma'am.
do you remember talking to me about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that in Oklahoma County?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
That's great. So let's kind of get a timeline about how all this came about. You state that this happened in April of 2014, correct?
April 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The first time you talked to any law enforcement officers was in August of 2014, correct?
I'm not sure exactly I don't know if it was August or September. Okay. It was probably August. The end of I was incarcerated August 26th. Somewhere shortly after I was incarcerated. I'm not sure because
Where were you located when you first talked to law enforcement about these alleged events?
Oklahoma County Jail.
Oh, okay. So the popo had you. In fact, what had happened is you got revoked on some paper time you were on, correct? Or you got arrested?
Yes.
You were in Oklahoma
Let's-
City.
I want to pause
I'm
for just 1 second, Jack. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry,
No
sorry.
problem.
So
No,
I
you're
just wanted to
fine.
remind those who watched last week when we showed the video of her calling 911 when she was in the middle of a traffic stop. She called 911 to divert police attention to her house. And this is why she was sitting in jail. She got arrested that day, and this was the next day that interview took place in jail. So this is the timeline that they're talking about.
So Rocky and Blinker really had her kind of by the nads. Okay. So,
Well, it was something.
I'm so sorry.
It was Kim and Valerie that went to see her at the jail. But yeah.
The
very next day.
Yeah, that's not really any better. Kim was there, so that says enough.
Yeah, that's enough. Right.
I'll show myself out. I'm going straight to hell anyway. So, all right. Here we go. You were in the Oklahoma County Jail,
Yes, sir.
and you had 6 prior felony convictions.
I am on a drug program, yes.
You were in a drug court.
I'm in a drug court, yes, I have.
You were in a drug court, correct?
Yes.
Were you in a drug court? What the hell's going on here? My shit.
No, I'm not, but I have been in there previously.
Yes.
Yes, and I have been previously in drug court previously.
And so, why were you in jail in August of 2014?
For a violation of probation from not attending my classes for my drug program at North Care.
Okay. And you were in jail, and you were approached by some detectives, correct?
Yes.
That was Rocky and Bullwinkle. I mean, Blinker and Valerie. And that's the first time you ever told this story, correct?
No.
That's the first time you ever told this story to law enforcement.
No.
When's the first time you ever told the story that you testified to here today to law enforcement?
In July. I had gotten incarcerated in July, and the two ladies that work in the receiving, one of them actually approached me. One of them is Tisdale and another lady, and they both approached me because I was yelling that this officer had raped me and all that.
I don't.
She's like, I thought you were playing. She brought that to my remembrance not even that long ago. So they remembered that from a previous incarceration before they had even come talk to me. They're two ladies, Tisdale and another officer right now. They was working before, I believe I came over here this morning or yesterday morning.
Jesus Christ! I'm lost. I'm just. What is she talking about, Kay?
I don't know. What day are they questioning her, actually? What were the two dates that they interviewed her in the county jail?
I thought it was August, the end of August. Well, I don't know the date.
Yeah, it was the 27th of August and
Okay.
and September 3rd, I think.
Okay. So
Okay.
maybe she's recalling something from her past and trying to. I don't know. Because I don't know
Well, she
what.
said in July that
Yeah.
Yeah,
happened.
but there are some police reports that we tried to get that are all redacted. So, but those go way back. So I don't know.
Right.
But not
Yeah,
in
just-
July.
Wow.
But not in July of 2014.
No, not in July 2014.
No.
I think they were back, like 5 years or so.
Gee,
Something like that.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, they
She's
were
just-
almost completely redacted. So
Friends, this is your mind on drugs. This shows
Yeah.
that fried egg.
Yeah.
I just
Exactly.
okay. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Line 4.
No. You're fine. Who does Tisdale work for?
the Oklahoma County,
The Oklahoma County Sheriff?
the county jail, yes. Is that the sheriff's? Yes, sir. Tisdale and another lady. They both work receiving together.
And do you remember the other lady's name?
No, she always has those little e-cigarettes. They'll know. Just once you talk to Tisdale, they work together all the time. I never see them not working together, okay? They're a team.
So did Tisdale and this other lady, are they the ones that notified Oklahoma City Police?
I don't have no idea who notified Oklahoma City Police about the situation.
Now, when you were interviewed in August, you told the detectives you'd been arrested multiple times, correct?
I don't remember if they asked me that question. I don't remember just that question in particular. I apologize. I don't remember. But if they had asked me, I would have told them. It's not something I would have hidden or anything. I don't know. Right now, I don't know.
And then you were a prostitute and you had been convicted of that.
I've engaged in lewd acts, prostitution, yes, twice.
Did you tell them that?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's brought up. I'm sure I did if they asked me. I don't remember if they asked me that specifically, but
Do you recall telling them that you had a drug problem for approximately 9 years?
yes, I have. I picked up in 2005. Yes. That does sound like
And that you certainly and that you're currently AWOL from the drug program. Do you recall telling them that?
Yes, I'm goes with everything. Yeah, I told them that.
And do you recall telling them that back in April of 2014 that you were walking home hoping that you'd get a date so you could make some more money?
Yes.
Now, has anyone offered you anything or promised you anything from either the government at all in regards to your current charges?
Any promises like
Offered you a deal?
no? I'm currently still incarcerated, and no, I'm incarcerated. I don't have no deal.
So, have you ever asked anyone from the government, whether it be the DA's office or Oklahoma City Police Department, am I going to get any benefit out of testifying against Officer Holtzclaw, or words to that effect?
No, I haven't asked for no benefit from if I'm testifying. I mean, there's really no benefit in my situation. I'm in a drug program, and it's either I do the drug program, or I go to prison.
So, your answer to my question is that you have not asked for any leniency whatsoever in regards to testifying in this.
No, I have not specifically asked anyone for any leniency.
Have you unspecifically asked for it?
You said what?
Have you asked for it in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Okay, pass the witness, Your Honor.
Redirect.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Miss Grate, you've told me about the things that went on upstairs in your bedroom when you were sitting on the bed and the officer was up there with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you want to do those things with him?
No.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Will the state have further questions within the scope of the court's inquiry?
Yes, Your Honor. Why did you do those things, Miss Grate?
It was either that or the county jail.
Is that what he told you?
Yes, it was.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Adams?
No, Your Honor.
It's great. That's all the questions we have for you, ma'am. You can push the microphone aside where it's not in your way and step down. If you'll go with this officer, right over to your right. Do what she tells you to do.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to end it there. So that was the preliminary testimony. Pardon me.
Well, I feel like I need a shower. Oh, wait, my microphone's still on. My bad.
I just noticed something for the first time reading this. I mean, I've read it before, but I just noticed this for the first time. She says, so Adams passes the witness. The court, let's see. The judge says redirect. McConnell wants a moment. The court says yes, ma'am. And then McConnell says no redirect, Your Honor. And then the judge is the one, when I'm looking at this more broadly now, the judge is the one who, what's the word I want to use, who gives the hint, I guess, or entices.
Opens the door. He definitely
opens the door to McConnell asking that question that she asked, because she didn't ask that in her, original direct examination.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was a big deal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rhonda and Kay. They went there and did a search and didn't find anything, right?
Right. Yeah. That's what we'll talk about for a few minutes.
For the closet rag that she just,
Yeah, for the closet rag. They did. They conducted a search because if you remember from last week, we watched the first interview that she gave on the 27th of August, and then the second interview that she gave on September 2nd or 3rd. And on that second interview, she had a whole little scenario all worked out for the detectives. If go back to the house, or you go to my house and go up in that room, and you're going to find this. You're going to find a chair.
DNA everywhere.
Yeah, there's going to be DNA everywhere, and you need to go back and find the rag that I wiped myself with and threw in the closet, and and if it's not there, it's in the second or third drawer of my nightstand. Just all these little details that she was giving them where they were going to find DNA.
From June 14th, right?
April 24th.
Oh, April. And this
Yeah.
is September.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they did. They took they couldn't find a towel that she
dish towel.
swore. Yeah, the dish towel with the blue line in it. They couldn't find that. They did go into the second and third drawer of the nightstand. There was no towel in either of those drawers. They took the back of the chair that she claimed she had wiped her hand on, because she said after she performed the oral sex that he wasn't clean, so she wiped her mouth and then wiped it on the back of the chair. No DNA on the chair. And there was just no DNA or evidence, no forensic evidence of any kind in that room that belonged to Daniel Holtzclaw. So.
And how long does Daniel's AVL or whatever say he was there?
That's a great question. I don't know the exact. So we're going to learn during the trial, and maybe it said it in the police report, but during the trial, we're going to learn that she claims he was there for about 20 or 30 minutes. But AVL clearly shows he was there for less than 17, if I'm not mistaken. Kay would probably know a better amount of time than what I'm recalling.
I can't remember. I know she starts out in her initial complaint alleging that it was a 30-minute deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time they get to trial, it's closer to matching the AVL time, as are most of the other accusers'
Right.
AVL testimony.
Yeah.
They remember more as time goes on.
Miraculously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is amazing, man.
So
once again, he whipped it out of a zipper. Didn't take his pants down.
Right.
So, you know what's weird about the Rosetta Grate evidence, or lack thereof, after it was all tested, is that they did use an alternate light source on Rosetta Grate's evidence that the crime unit collected.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
But the primary piece of evidence, Holtzclaw's uniform pants, they have always been saying that they didn't use an alternate light source on him.
I don't believe him.
I don't either, because he didn't put those pants on fresh that day or the day before. I don't know if he was getting ready to work his second shift in those pants, or I think it was his third shift that he was getting ready to work in those pants. It just doesn't make any sense at all that they wouldn't do the simplest thing they could do with the pants, use an alternate light source, but they use an alternate light source. And Elaine Taylor tested the Rosetta Grate evidence as well as Daniel's uniform pants and all the stuff, all the swabs or whatever they collected from the back seat of his car and all that stuff.
And Elaine Taylor is going to testify in Rosetta Grate's testimony in Rosetta's Great case. Rosetta Grate's case. So we're going to hear from her again, and it should be pretty interesting to hear. Go ahead.
I've always felt like they wanted to do the minimal amount of testing on those pants.
Right.
Yeah, what's up with that? We know that's not what happened.
I've always felt like it's not what happened, you know? And also, why did they use those Xerox copies or copies printed out on a printer for the photographs of the pants at trial? I was looking back
Very strange.
Yeah.
the other day. Those have lines through them, you know. You couldn't, it's not a clear representation of what those pants look like. But those were I mean, there are just so many weird things involving the pants that bug me.
Mhm.
Well, I'm like you and Susan. I don't believe. Hey, Travis, and we've had, let's see, Paul Ward, Jerome from the French Wrecking Crew has popped in, and
Hey guys.
Justine J. Alice is in the chat, or was in the chat. So welcome, you guys. It's great to see you. I think so. I'm like you. I'm like Kay and Susan. I believe that they did use an alternate light source on those pants. I think they didn't see anything, or they did see something and they tested it, but it wasn't DNA or forensic evidence of any kind. That's what I think. And so they had to say, oh, yeah, no, we didn't do an alternate light source, but we tested the zipper. Because if they put in the report that they tested that they did the alternate light source and found something and tested it, but it would have to, I mean, from what I know from Dr. Silkman's taught us, it would show presumptive for blood or another bodily fluid, if I'm not mistaken, to the alternate light source. But it, you know, it would to show, you know, something like a drink or ketchup that might have dribbled out of a hamburger or whatever, that wouldn't show up as a presumptive for some, you know, for them to test, you know, for a bodily fluid. I think they saw something, they tested it, it wasn't what they expected, so they said, oh, we didn't do the alternate light source, we just tested the zipper. I think that's what happened.
Personally. And I think they used the alternate light source. They knew that if they disclosed that, but they didn't test the pants. I don't think they wanted to test the pants because I do not believe that most of these people believed that Holtzclaw was guilty.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it. I mean,
who are you talking about, Kay?
Who?
Most of what people?
Law enforcement, people that are associated with the crucial decisions in the case. Mm-hmm. You know, they have their chain of people from the top to the bottom who are shady as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they just keep working within that line from tip to tail of those people.
Yeah.
You know, we've had plenty of years to dig into all of these crooked ass people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I just don't. Even if they saw something on the pants and would have said, you know, there's something on the pants, but we don't know what it is. If they truly believed he was guilty of 3 sexual assaults that they knew about in those pants, they would have been going back and testing those pants. You know, when they cultivated all of these victims and realized, hey, we've got the Janie Liggins allegation of the, you know, oral sex. We've got Kayla Lyles which, a vaginal rape. We've got a Dara
Sherry Ellis,
Gardner rape,
Dara Gardner.
Accused of inserting his fingers inside her. Those same fingers that he would need to put his junk back up and zip his pants.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man,
But none of
And,
their
and
DNA was on
possibly
his
wipe
pants.
them on his pants.
Mhm,
You
yeah.
know.
yeah. It's just
And
bullshit, man. It's bullshit. But I do not think they sent the pants off to have him tested, because they couldn't even test for urine. Isn't that what Kim wanted him to test for? Do you guys recall from last week? I feel like I'm
no, I
saying
don't.
wrong, but I think
I don't.
that's
I
right.
don't think. Oh, maybe I don't remember urine being. Because that is,
Either.
yeah, I don't remember them saying urine. I don't think that's something that can be tested, though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
Blood. Yeah, you'll have to look it up. Blood, semen, and saliva are the ones I remember, but I could be wrong.
Oh, Under Your Scars is asking, can't the lawyer demand those test results? I know they have all the results that the lab says they did, Now, if they really did an alternate light source on those pants, they didn't disclose that or the photographs associated with them. And then as far as the Rosetta Grate evidence, all of that, they didn't find Holtzclaw's DNA anywhere in that bedroom where she says that she, wiped herself and smeared it on the back of the chair, smeared it on the runner to the bed.
Was that a mattress laying on the floor, or was there a
It was a
bed
box.
frame?
It was a box springs.
Yeah, it was on the box spring, but the box spring wasn't on. It was on a. The box spring was on the floor. It wasn't on any kind of legs or anything.
Right, no frame.
No frame. Yeah.
They took
So
that.
how does that work? I mean,
What do you mean?
I mean, he would have had to been down on his knees to.
Yeah.
Well, she says, I think in her trial testimony, doesn't she explain him just because he tells her supposedly to lay back onto the bed. He's been standing at the end of the bed, forcing her to give him a blowjob, and then he tells her to lay back, and he just holds himself up like he's doing a push-up, is kind of how she describes it, without probably not using those words, but
Yeah.
Which, whatever, Daniel's, I guess you're not going to be able to say he wouldn't be able to physically do that, because of course he's an athlete. And
yeah,
but
even the blowjob, if she's sitting down that low, he's tall. He's a tall guy. That just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense.
it'd be interesting to kind of, of course, a tall guy can make himself a lot shorter just by the questions they did ask were how far were his feet apart or things like that.
Yeah.
Those questions I don't recall coming from the defense. So anyway.
Yeah. Oh, hey, TJ.
What do you get for
Travis?
For her?
Travis says urine can be detected, but you typically can't get DNA from urine. That's what I was thinking.
I think Kim and Galen wanted him to test for urine, and they said that they had taken those tests offline and that they just didn't do those. I think this is in Campbell Ruddock's deposition for the civil lawsuit. I think they did talk about Zellner's questioning him, and she's asking him about Kim and Giger requesting those tests.
Right. Yeah, well, and she also had she had a really hard time getting any answers from Campbell Ruddock because of the secret hearings deal. Rick Smith, the city attorney, was not allowing him to ask any questions.
You know what's
So,
interesting though about that deposition is in the course of, well, in the process of the city attorney trying to make sure that he doesn't answer any questions, he really explains why, what the court has done and why they've done it, and they've issued a gag order and given us a protective order on that 2-day trial. And they've said that nothing that happened in there was exculpatory for Mr. Holtzclaw. So his explanations of, why he can't allow his client to answer the questions are just like, man. And that they've deemed it a personnel issue.
yeah.
I still can't believe that all was allowed to happen without relief. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe going to the Supreme Court. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, is there who in the criminal justice system can order those hearings unsealed? Can anybody in the criminal justice system, in the court system, order that those secret hearings be unsealed? Is that possible? Because
Well, it's possible you can ask for him to be unsealed, but
I mean, order. Can't a judge somewhere in some
well, no,
federal
that's what
court?
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean, ask by make a motion by, formally ask,
Right.
because that's happened before in this case, and they unsealed parts of them.
Yeah, because here's the thing: I know that they're calling it personnel matters, but if that was all that was, then why seal it? At least make it. I mean, I know, because whatever it's like a thin line there, because if it is just personnel, then let Daniel's defense team look at it. Let
Well,
them view it. Let them see if there's anything in
if
there.
it's personnel, why is Galen Giger there? Why is Lori McConnell
Yeah.
there? If it's a
And,
personnel issue,
and
why?
why does it involve Daniel's case?
Yeah, and why is it there? It's on his docket.
Yes. That's
You go to
exactly it.
OSPN. Okay, it doesn't list it as Elaine Taylor's personnel review.
Right.
That's fucking ridiculous that
Yeah.
they were able to deal with that in that way. All all the while avoiding. It took him 2.5 years for the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals to come back with a decision and uphold the conviction. 2.5
That's a
years.
long time. Good
He
God.
files his direct appeal. Seems like it was just a few months later that the secret hearings happened, and then nothing, crickets forever, and 2.5 years later, the answer comes.
What was in his direct appeal that might make that hearing happen?
They were just saying that I think it was Elaine Taylor testifying outside the bounds of her expertise. It was
That's a big
issues with
deal.
her I don't know, like
I'll have to read the appeal again because it's been a long time since I've read that. We should go through that sometime.
she wasn't qualified to even be an analyst, which is interesting, you know, in because Zellner asked Campbell Reddick in the deposition. She says, you know, were the decisions on the testing and all these different things, were those decisions that Elaine Taylor made on her own? Or, did she consult? And he said, well, any analyst who works in the lab is well qualified to decide what kind of testing to do on what
Mm-hmm.
piece of evidence. And so, she was a seasoned forensic analyst. And then they ask, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought reading Travis's comment. Oh my gosh, it'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah, Travis says it would have to be a motion for post-conviction testing, and it would depend on Oklahoma's post-conviction testing statute. It's so frustrating because I really think that the key, or a big key, to Daniel's freedom, or at least a new trial, is absolutely tied up in those secret hearings. I'm sorry for what, Travis? If you're sorry because you
sorry that I
thought.
barely have two brain cells to rub together. Is that what you're sorry about?
She squirrels out all the time, Travis. No need to be sorry.
This is normal. That's not your fault. I know better than to be reading the comments. No, what I was going to say, though, was Zellner asked him how many reviews he had done on Elaine Taylor's trial testimony. And he basically said like 2 a year for the time since he had been there and been her supervisor. And, what was the last review of hers that you did? And he said it was in this case. It was in the Holtzclaw case. And the issue, which I can't believe that this attorney let them get to this point. The issue was, oh my God, I might need to log off. I don't know what's wrong with me right now.
Don't log off. No, don't go. Pulling Andy B. Don't go.
Oh my God.
You were saying that that Zellner was asking Ruddick in the depot.
So what happens is basically he says that she's such an awesome analyst and she's well seasoned, but in the end, the last review, he's having to tell her, hey, you're not presenting the evidence, you're not presenting the statistics in a way that's not misleading to the jury. That's what Zellner got out of him. It's like, oh, your seasoned analyst is getting a do-better speech on how to present evidence at trial clearly without being shady as shit.
Misleading.
Yeah, intentionally misleading and obviously prejudiced. I mean, she forgot what her job was. Her job was to take Adara Gardner's word for that she was raped by Holtzclaw because she said she was raped by Holtzclaw. Fucking lab analyst said that at trial.
Yeah.
Or was that in her deposition? It was at trial, wasn't it? It was at trial.
No, it was Elaine Taylor's main trial testimony. Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever.
Travis says, yes, you need to go back and see what the issues were on the direct appeal because you need new stuff for the post-conviction.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
go look and see what we're procedurally barred on so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kay's
Kay
techno saying no.
is
Yeah,
Kay
the techno.
No, I'm not techno, Liam. You know better.
You know better than that.
Me and my homie Kim.
Oh yeah, and you get to do some Kim reading in this case. Are you so excited?
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I've read enough of her. I think I can do it.
Oh, I know you can. I know you like to read her parts. Travis says he was very surprised by what she testified at trial. Oh, I think you mean Campbell Ruddock. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was. And you know, which I don't know if I'm going to say this, if I can say this the way I mean it, but that begs the question. If she testified outside of her expertise and he testifies to that in his deposition, Ruddock does, isn't that like grounds for some kind of, I don't know what it is, sanctions or something for
well, if you could prove
Yeah.
it, but that's a personnel issue, Rhonda.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Was the
Jesus, I don't know.
transfer ungloved hand in the bag, was that on direct appeal? I think it was one of the inept lab analyst things on direct.
Yeah. Casey got a lot of concessions out of Reddit. Well, she got as much as fucking Rick Smith would let her. He was, oh my God. He was horrible. Rick
Yeah,
Smith.
but
Objection.
Yeah, but in the scheme of things, though, he really wasn't. I think Zellner kind of wore him down because he kept trying to differentiate between her. So Campbell Ruddock went to one of her days of testimony, trial testimony, and he reviewed that with her. And then he was asked to review her entire trial testimony. And that's what was the basis of the secret hearings, which Zellner did get that out of him at the very end, at the very last question. She got that out of Rick Smith by promising him that they wouldn't be there longer. It's like, dude, did you forget what your job was here today?
Yeah. Travis, welcome to our world. Jesus. Yeah.
She kept.
Yeah,
but what I was gonna say is that so Zellner kind of threw him off his footing because he kept saying, "Now we're not going to talk about that. That's part of that personnel hearing, and that's what we're not going to talk about. So you need to differentiate. Are you asking about his review of the day of trial testimony that he sat in the courtroom and reviewed? Because you need to keep it strictly to that." And so she kind of started asking about that, and stochastic levels, and how she misled the jury with, I think Ruddock's words were, it was the testimony about the stochastic levels, basically her dying on a cross, that there was no male DNA.
Well, sorry, Kay, go ahead. I just want to.
No, I mean, but I think she got him off footing by talking about that one. And then frankly, I think Rick Smith was just ready to get out of there. So she did get a lot out of him, I felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. I mean, yeah. I feel like, because we also know that KZ interviewed Elaine Taylor as well. And from what I've heard in that deposition, KZ pretty much tore her up. Travis says, however, those depositions were after the direct appeal, were they not? Yes, they
Right.
were.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I would imagine that, I'm not a lawyer, as we all like to say, but we pretend that we play them on YouTube. But I would imagine then that anything that we learn new from depositions, if we learn anything new or if anything is found in the depositions, that would be able to be used in post conviction. And I think, I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Well, Ruddick and also but Doug Johnson also got in on some of that too. Doug Johnson was awesome.
But wasn't most of that barb throwing during Elaine Taylor's deposition?
There was a lot of that. KZ really did she thoroughly confused. Elaine Taylor had no idea how much Kathleen Zellner knows about DNA.
No, she didn't know.
And she was totally
intimidated
by Kathleen Zellner with Kathleen Zellner's knowledge of DNA. And I think Elaine Taylor thought she was going to go in and just, say,
act like she was talking to a juror.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Travis says, so that is all potentially new evidence. That's what I was thinking. Maybe I should go back to school. I'm just kidding. I could never be an attorney.
Can you see me being an attorney, though? I could be up there arguing a point, and then I would just forget whatever the hell I was going to talk about, and I'd just stand there
then you would squirrel out, and that'd be it. I would do the same thing.
My team would be flashing cue cards at me. Okay, I'm sorry.
I have a teleprompter up there for you.
I'm rude.
You're not. So I wanted to say something though about. So before I forget, for those of you who haven't seen Dr. Silkman's presentation that he did for us on my channel several months ago, quite a while ago, he did a presentation on the DNA in Daniel's case. I linked it earlier in both chats, Foul Play and my chat. So if you haven't watched that already, I highly recommend that you go and watch that, because Dr. Silkman did a lot of work on it. He went through, all the information that he could get that was available, and he proves that there was indeed an amount of Daniel's DNA in his own pants, where at trial, Elaine Taylor testifies that there was DNA from an unknown male or two unknown males, individuals, but none of them were Daniel. And that's not true, and Dr. Silkman proves it in his presentation. Excuse me. So I recommend, because I know that you guys all love listening to Dr. Silkman and his knowledge and wisdom and everything. I go watch it, because it's very interesting, and we all were pretty much like, wow, this is amazing that he was able to take the time. And this is coming from an outside expert, looking at the evidence and the testing and everything, and finding out that there was indeed things there or not there that were testified to differently at trial.
I want to say, Rhonda.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to say that, in my opinion, it's just an opinion, there's no way that Elaine Taylor didn't know that. I think it was straight perjury. She had to know. She about the DNA being there, and she said it wasn't. Daniel's wasn't. She had to know.
Well, you know how she got away with she did know, but she also got away with it. I mean, because Campbell Reddick testifies that the values
Mm-hmm.
were correct. And so all of Daniel's, well, okay, so if the first alleles don't match, so if Daniel's allele falls below the stochastic threshold, that's it. She's done with that sample. She doesn't look any further, and that is their policy, which is bullshit. You should be able to look at that as an analyst and say, you know, his alleles are here, but the values are, the quantities are below the threshold. So we don't count it. But if you look down here, I mean, it could be his, but it could be someone else's. And I think that's what Campbell Ruddock wanted her to present, a more balanced. He seems to be the only ethical person in this whole case. And Campbell Ruddock, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen of Campbell Ruddock, he seems to be very reasonable, very ethical, very honest. I also want to remind people that have been around the case for a while, and to those of you who are fairly new to the case, we have to remember also that Elaine Taylor was trained by and supervised by Joyce Gilchrist. And in the Oklahoma City crime lab. Joyce Gilchrist was a fucking train wreck in that crime lab. And I have a couple of different videos. One I have about Joyce Gilchrist and her lies and her falsifying of DNA and everything else. And I also have one about Elaine Taylor, and we bring together the two of them and show, you know, how we know for a fact, because it's been proven, and she was ultimately charged for and was terminated for. We know for a fact that Joyce Gilchrist was dirty. And we know that, you know, she was terminated for her dirty antics in the crime lab. And we're talking, I don't know, I'll have to see if I can find, I don't have, or maybe Jack or somebody can find it for me, or if Cherie's online yet or not. But anyway, there is there are so many men, and I believe it was all men, I don't think there were any women, who went to try, or who were convicted of, and some of them on death row, some of them even executed, because of Joyce Gilchrist falsifying forensic evidence and testimony and things like that. And it was all proven. It was ultimately proven after they finally caught up with her, and some outside crime lab analysts, I don't know what to call them, Kay, you would probably know, but professionals outside of the, you know, Oklahoma, who were looking at her, reviewing her work and things, and they're like, man, something's wrong, something's not right here. And so, you know, the people on the outside started looking at her. Then somebody else was brought in to Oklahoma City Crime Lab and started looking at things, and there was a mountain of shady stuff that was going on. Rape kits being thrown away less than 7 years, like 2 years, you know, after a rape kit would be used at court or whatever, or taken. And they started running out of room. So what does Joyce Gilchrist do? She orders her subordinates to throw them out. Throw these out. Rape kits that cannot be ever collected again or used in a trial to convict or exonerate somebody.
That is so disgusting.
It's horrible. There's a time when they discovered that the refrigerators, or the freezers in the crime lab that were used to preserve evidence in, were so overgrown with ice and, frozen freezer burned ice and different things, that the samples, whatever samples were in those freezers, were ruined. Like just just ruined. And but the worst part of it is that the men that she sent to that her and Bob Macy sent to prison for life and or on death row, that's what the most egregious part of Joyce Gilchrist time in the Oklahoma City crime lab. Elaine Taylor trained under Joyce Gilchrist. And Elaine Taylor is also Detective Rocky Gregory's mother-in-law. Well, not anymore, but him and his wife were divorced.
At the time, yeah.
But at the time, Rocky Gregory was married to Elaine Taylor's daughter at the time.
They didn't get a divorce. She did die.
She died, though, yeah. I think the divorce was filed for, if I'm not mistaken, when I.
Yeah, but when you look at the docket, it's continued. It shows like there's a reconciliation. I've seen that a lot of times. They did not get a divorce though.
But yeah, she did die. I do remember they never got the divorce because I remember. Never mind. I had a.
Remember thinking there might be some foul play afoot.
Yes, I was like, did something, and then I was like, no, stop it. You can't think like that. But I did for a minute. So anyway, but anyway, this all kind of going back, and we're going to get, like I said, we'll get to hear Elaine Taylor testify in this case as well, Rosetta's case, because there was all this testing that was done on her alleged places where there was supposed to be all this amazing DNA that was going to help them with their case, she said. She's quite interesting for sure. And you got a glimpse of that interesting in just that 23 pages of preliminary testimony. So, and she's hard to, as you guys know, those of you who were listening along, reading, she's really difficult to like if you give her a little crumb, she just goes crazy, but starts, instead of following crumbs, she's following, rabbit pellets or some shit. I don't know, but she gets way off weird. Like, I got so confused when she was talking about the time the Tisdale officer and this other. I'm like, that has nothing to do with what you're talking about right now. So she's her brain is pretty fried, to be quite honest with you. Rosetta Grate was a heavy drug user, and not saying, I'm not trying to say that she was bad with crack. And she admits that. And she used drugs for many, many years. And if I'm not mistaken, she was arrested for something just this past June, just a few months ago.
I think it was unauthorized use of a vehicle again.
Okay. Oh yeah, she
has a thing for taking off in other people's cars.
Yeah, she does.
Borrowing them and not giving them back or some stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds as though she had a lot of interaction with law enforcement.
Yeah.
Which gives her a great motive to get back at them.
Well, when you know who the receiving women are, then that they always work together and they're right there in receiving at the county jail. It means you've been to the county jail a couple times.
Exactly. They're always there together. I've always seen them together.
They always work together.
They're a team. They're a team. And I was thinking when you guys were reading that, wow, only somebody who's been in there an awful lot would know that.
Right.
What is that, Travis?
Who got a UUMV?
Who got a... I like to buy a consonant, please.
Moving vehicle under...
Motor vehicle, something motor vehicle?
Oh, that was Yeah, that was great. If he's talking about who
Unauthorized
recently got
unauthorized use.
unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
Unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
Ding,
Yeah,
ding,
that
ding,
was
ding,
Rosetta.
ding.
Stop it,
win.
Travis.
You win a trip to the beautiful Bahamas.
To the beautiful splash pad in Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Look at Travis. You see what he's doing for you, Kay?
I know. That's for you, Rhonda.
That is not for me. You were the one that asked for a consonant.
Okay.
He says, was that recently?
Yes.
It's June, yeah. That was just in June.
And
Yeah.
she had still been, she just got out of trouble too, because she should have gone back to prison after Daniel was convicted. She got arrested, which broke the terms of her plea agreement that she had gotten. And so she was going to court every month. And then finally, her attorney got it switched to a different judge, and they gave her another deal. So she was out of trouble.
Wow.
But she had stayed clean, it seemed like, that whole time. Because, like she said in this preliminary testimony that we read today, it's either that. It was either that or go to jail. It was either do the, stay within the guidelines of her drug program or go to prison. And so she knew that, she knew she had to stay clean to try to just get out of this deal. And she did. She got married. She was living in Watanga, I think. She may.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But yeah.
Yeah, and then she just, it's just some of these people, that get addicted to crack and meth and heroin, they just, it is, and it's a lifelong battle. Even if you're clean and sober for many, many years,
Oh, yeah.
you have to get out of and stay out of the environment. And if you don't have money, yeah, it is. It's really, really sad, to be honest. And if you don't have the money to get yourself out of a environment that's socioeconomically, poor, basically, it's hard to get yourself away from that type of environment. And until they won this civil suit where they all got about $13,000 each, I don't know, but it doesn't seem to me like many of them had much of an opportunity to really get themselves out of that environment. A lot of these accusers, all of them, I think, at one point or another, has been in trouble again with the law. Some to lesser degrees than others, but it's Liam.
She's out on bail.
Oh, is she out on bail now?
Yeah.
See, it's just I'm sorry, go ahead.
She had a hearing 9/12/23. Defendant appears in person with no attorney. The state appears by ADA B. King. The prelim hearing conference is continued to October 19th before Judge Glidewell, who I've never heard of before. At the request of the defendant, public defender appointed as counsel for defendant. Bond conditions include defendant complying with all court orders and no new criminal charges filed. Court reporter waived.
What?
They do that. They waive court reporter all the time in these deals so that you had to be there.
Huh.
Gotcha.
That's why I go to a lot of the hearings, is because that's the only way you can know what really happened.
Right, because they don't have a reporter.
Yeah.
Well, And it makes me wonder because they got their payout. Well, they won their suit from the city, the settlement from the city. They won that in October. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, those checks are cut rather quickly once they win a settlement.
I have
And
no idea.
so I would imagine by at the very longest, December or January, these ladies all had about $13,000-14,000 each. And I know that to them, well, to me, it would be a lot of money. So I know that had to be a lot of money for them. But even since then, several of these ladies have been in legal trouble again. And I just, at the risk of sounding judgmental, what the fuck did you do with your money? I mean, it wasn't very much. I mean, it doesn't go very far, but when you're used to having nothing and you get that much, man, you think you can I can buy this and I can buy this and I can do that, blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, your money's gone. Especially if you're, continuing to use drugs and, choosing, less than pleasant lifestyles, and so it's really frustrating, and it kind of can make somebody. I think the taxpayers of Oklahoma City are the ones who should be pissed because they had to pay that settlement, and for what, for what, for lies, and so it's just really frustrating. And if I was, and Kay, I think you told me that it was a closed door meeting or hearing about when that settlement was discussed and decided, right?
No, the settlement that was a closed door negotiation was before it got appealed. Because Judge Heaton, he granted summary judgment to the city of Oklahoma City, basically everyone. So only Holtzclaw was left in it.
Right.
And so then they appealed the summary judgment for the city of Oklahoma City. And that's where another settlement conference happened. But, not before they dropped Holtzclaw from the case. So they drop Holtzclaw, and then they go, when they see that Holtzclaw was ready for trial.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Frankly, Travis's work on the civil suit was, I've always believed, is what got Daniel dropped from that.
Yeah. So did it settle on appeal?
They didn't even end up.
No.
They didn't even end up going through the whole appeal thing. A settlement conference happened, and then it got dropped. The appeal got dropped. Because the city of Oklahoma City, even though they had been granted summary judgment, they decided to pay the people. The judge had explained, Judge Heaton had explained in one of the last hearings I went to before it got appealed that, one reason that, well, this is when the settlement conference was happening at Judge Heaton's instruction, that really because the city of Oklahoma City said, I don't know, why are we participating in this? Because we've been granted summary judgment. So why would we have to participate in a settlement conference? And Heaton said, well, you might want to consider that the summary judgment might get turned over on appeal. So it might be in your best interest to go ahead and try to work out a settlement. So we don't know what happened in that. I think the attorneys at that point still felt like, hey, we're looking at $100,000 for each of our people or whatever, not, less than 20.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the appeal never actually ended up getting dropped.
Yeah. And yeah, and then and now they've walked away with, far less than, what they were asking. Yes, they did. They had 9. I think there were 9 of them, Travis, that I think they got about $14,000 each. The settlement was for $166,000, 166,800, I believe. And all of the accusers had to divide that amount, amongst each other. Plus, they had to pay their attorneys. So, even though I don't know how to do math, I was able to figure out that it was about between 13, maybe 15,000, if that they would have got. But that's just me guessing on the percentage that the attorneys took. Well, most of it did. Absolutely. That's in my opinion. That's why I'm saying, if they got $13,000 or $14,000 checks sometime in December or January, I could be wrong. They could have got more, but it wasn't much more. Because I'm pretty sure that Ben Crump didn't just settle with 33% of a contingency fee on this case. I know what kind of work Ben Crump was doing on this case, and it was not a 33%er. I just made that word up. But anyway, they didn't. I think when I figured it out, I figured it at like 40%, which was probably too high, maybe. But
a note I
anyway.
have says Oklahoma City has settled with 9 plaintiffs in the federal lawsuits against Daniel. City is paying each of the accusers $18,500 for prejudgment interest, costs, and attorney fees. Only Sherry Ellis and Carla Raines, 2 of the original 11 plaintiffs, were not involved in the settlement. The city presumably had no need to settle with Ellis and Raines because they did not appeal Judge Heaton's summary judgment in favor of the city to the Federal 10th Circuit Court of Criminal Appeals. So,
Okay.
I mean, I really think after Ellis's deposition and that piece of her deposition getting plastered all over the news, I think it became clear to her that she had been played by those detectives. I mean, he could have been raped by a short black man, but how she got manipulated by those detectives to make that rape by a short black man happen in the sequence of events of this traffic stop she had with Holtzclaw, we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could have discussed that while they were driving around looking at the alleged crime scene without recording it.
Yeah. Okay. Liam asks, don't attorneys usually negotiate their fees outside of what the plaintiff gets? Again, I'm not a lawyer. I was in a wrongful conviction, not a wrongful conviction, a wrongful death lawsuit on behalf of my kids when their dad died, and he died while he was working, and so they. I know that my attorney, it was a contingency. It was a contingency case, and if I didn't win anything, or if my kids didn't win anything, rather, then the attorney wasn't going to charge me anything. But if we won, then the negotiation was that he would get 33% of the settlement. So, I thought, so that's what I'm basing everything I'm saying about this case. That's what I'm basing that on, is my own experience.
Well,
But
Travis
I want
says
to see what, yeah,
first
I
comes
want to,
costs. So if the costs are $5,000 per plaintiff, if they settle for $10,000, that leaves $5,000 less 40% for fees. He's saying Ben Crump probably took 49%.
yeah, that's a big, see, I didn't figure Crump was going to take, and all of those attorneys
40.
are high profile cases, or
he's
high
saying
profile attorneys.
40%, not 49%.
Yeah, he has fat fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say half.
But if they
First
settled for
comes-
10,000, they would end up with 3,000 each.
Man, that's a lot of turmoil all those years
Yeah.
Yeah.
for such
Oh
a.
my God.
I mean, I'm sure they loved getting a check for $2 or $3 grand, but man,
And like, yeah, I mean, I guess, according to Travis's math, which is far more accurate than mine will ever be, and he knows what he's talking about to boot, they got a lot less than I even imagined. So,
Well, that's saying if they settled for 10,000, what was the final?
but the final settlement was 166,800.
And it depends on what costs were. I mean, that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I would have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
What costs are.
So it's hard.
Well, there were a lot of filings. That's for sure. I mean,
yeah, I understand that now, Travis. It takes Susan sometimes to get me back to thinking clearly. But Travis says it was an example, Rhonda.
Yeah.
It would depend on what the attorneys put out for costs, which include expert fees, photocopies, medical records, travel, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, okay. So, and then their fees on
after that.
After that, yeah.
Well, I mean, we were close enough to go into trial with that. I mean, I can't remember what that document is. That is one of the last documents that you have to submit to the court. Basically, it's almost like a trial outline is what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was called.
Man, I don't know how many hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and days of work
weeks,
that document took in a case like this, where there are so many.
Cost would be at least 50,000.
Yeah,
and and I remember a lot of attorneys asking. Well, Daniel's attorneys in depositions asking about, asking the accusers. I think Janie Liggins specifically comes to mind. He was asking her in the deposition. Joint pretrial order. That's what it was.
That's right. Thank you, Travis.
But I remember the Daniel's attorney saying, have you ever gone to Florida? I remember specifically. And, how did your attorney pay for you to go to Florida when you went to Florida? Did your attorney pay for you to, he was asking all these questions. Did your attorney do this for you financially? And, so it makes sense why those questions were being asked now that you're breaking that down, Travis. It makes a lot more sense to me now.
Rhonda, they were especially hammering those questions onto Janie Liggins, weren't they?
Yeah, really hard on Janie Liggins.
And I don't know if that's because they had her on a interview circuit. Crump was on a few shows with her, that TV One or whatever that most horrible
that was awful
thing was. I think they were flying her to different places, but I'm sure the TV place could have.
Yeah.
done that too, but you know, Crump really likes the whole
Yeah.
press.
He likes the camera. He sure does. He sure does. And, you know, and I've said this to you guys before, you know, those that are watching. These ladies were planning, most of these women were planning their civil suit before or during trial. And Galen Gigger, in his little notorious thing that he does, his presentation to the court reporters, he says, you know, and the very next day, the day after trial, Ben Crump flies in for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, no. First of all, Ben Crump is standing outside the courtroom with them the day of the verdict. So it wasn't the day after, it was the day of. And there's trial testimony. Scott Adams pulls trial testimony or asks questions during the trial from different accusers. Did you file a civil lawsuit before this trial or on this case or whatever? And he's asking that during the trial testimony. And he's bringing receipts of, well, you know, I have record here that you were, you know, met with attorney, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so they were planning their civil suit before they even went to trial, which is another thing that makes me think that the detectives were dropping in their ear, hey, I'm speculating, this is just my own opinion, but I'm speculating that these detectives and the DA and whoever else were saying to these women, you know, you can win a civil right, you know, your civil rights were violated. You can file a suit against him and make all this money and blah, 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 blah. Well, and then, you know, they want to say, and then what's his name? Galen Gigger, in his presentation, wanted to make it sound like the attorneys all seized on them. And maybe they did, but it wasn't after the trial. It was before and during the trial. As soon as it was known that these were black accusers and a white cop, civil rights attorneys were all over it. I'm speculating, of course. So, you know, it just, and then Galen Gigger says in his presentation that Jamie came up to me and she said, Galen, I just don't know what to do. What should I do? And I said, Jamie? And I'm like, he's saying this in his presentation thing. And I'm like, you are so full of yourself, you piece of shit. He's such a pig. I know those are harsh words, but he is a bad, dirty man. So anyway, but I think we're going to go ahead and maybe, unless there's any other comments or questions in the chat, because we love that. It gives us no opportunity to explain things to you that we have information for. But I think we'll have some interesting testimony coming up with Rosetta Grate's testimony next week. She's got about 80 pages of testimony, I think, so it could probably be quite lengthy. Plus, it's really hard to get through her shit without laughing or commenting because she's so colorful. And then there's going to be a few other testimonies from other people. Plus, Elaine Taylor, like I said, will testify in this section of the trial. So let's see here. Travis says, I'm going to guess, and I think this is going to be pretty close, 160,000 total, right? Figure 60,000 for attorney fees, 50K for costs, leaves 50K to be divided by how many ever? 9. There were 9 of them. Yeah, there were 9 for them to divide. So 50,000 to divide 9 ways. That's not. I certainly can't do that math in my head, but I'm pretty sure Travis is working on it.
It's 4 point something thousand.
Yeah, it looks about 5,500 ish. 55.
Or 5,000.
So yeah, it looks like, and I have every reason to believe Travis's figures are far more accurate than mine ever were, because I was giving them a lot more. But yeah, they sure didn't come away with very much. And what a kick in the ass that must have been. That must have been like a gut punch to them. Because I know originally, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they were each asking 75,000 each. So yeah, 55. Thanks, Travis. I appreciate that. So it's even worse than I thought. I mean, the amount of their check was even less, far less than what I even thought it was. Makes me feel even worse. Like, I don't know. I was gonna say, like, for everything that it put Daniel through, but because I know that was a rough period of time for Daniel.
Hey, you got the depositions out of it.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
good.
That's what I was just going to say. But what we did get from that is we got to get depositions, which gives us more evidence. And, with what little bits we did help with, we there's some interesting information that I think we laymen think could possibly be used to help in post-conviction. That's for, the defense team to decide, of course, but yeah, good point, Liam. He says, just goes to show how seriously OKC actually took their accusations.
Well, they were in a pretty tough spot, Liam, when they get into the civil suit, because now they're having to basically defend their training of Holtzclaw.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was basically one of them. So, they were walking a pretty fine line. Nothing like you heard at trial. So,
Right.
It was pretty interesting.
And I agree with Travis here. He says the only reason those plaintiffs settled is because of the situation they were, is what's 55 worth to them, probably 50,000 or even 500,000 to us. Exactly. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
And William says, yet it was easy for them to destroy a man's life on $5 and a bit $1,000. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Well, fuck those detectives for dragging most of these women into this shit. Fuck Janie Liggins for lying.
Yeah.
Amen. Fuck Kayla Lyles for using Daniel to, not have her probation revoked. But a lot of these women, screw those detectives and Galen Gigger for what they did to them, dragging them in. They want to talk about how Daniel used marginalized women when that's exactly what they did.
What they did.
Pissing. Especially Terry Morris. I'm never going to get over what they did to her.
What they did to Terry Morris was despicable. I'm not saying that I like Terry Morris. I'm not a huge fan, but I am a fan of human beings, and I am a fan of being decent. And what Rocky Gregory and Tim Musley did to Terry Morris was criminal. It was, and that's why I pointed out last week in the police report that we went through. That's why I pointed that all out, because they say that Daniel did all those things, that Daniel targeted those women in those demographics. Daniel didn't do anything but fucking work in his zone that he was assigned to patrol in. That's all Daniel did. That was what he was assigned to work in, was that demographic. And then Timothy Musney has to go and make this big thing about this list, and I read it to you in the show last week, guys. He specifically specified that demographic, not Daniel. He did that. And then he sent his little fucking minions out into the city to find these women in those demographics. And it pisses me off because they blame that, they say that about Daniel, that he targeted those women, when it was Lieutenant Timothy Musney who targeted those women, and only after Janie Liggins' fucking lie to start with. So, let's see here. Calm down, Rhonda. Travis says, yes, Liam, the city was a little concerned about losing qualified immunity. Yeah. Well, they should still be concerned about it, in my opinion, but I don't know, we'll see. But if the city hadn't gotten out on summary judgment, the city would have paid closer to $1 million. Yeah, to win the lawsuit, right? So, but what I made a video years ago I say years ago, it was probably 2 years ago, of what they did to Terry Morris based on Holtzclaw's interview of her, or not Holtzclaw's, Holtzclawtrial.com, Brian Bates Investigates podcast. And I didn't put those links in the chat in this description this week, but they're in last week's. But what Rocky Gregory did to Terry Morris, he hunted her down, you guys, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It's even said in the police report. I had to go and hunt for Terry. He says at trial. That's despicable to me. And he had to hunt her down, and then he bullied her, and he berated her, and he, traumatized her. And we're talking about a woman who is already mentally ill. She told him she was mentally ill. She was schizophrenic and that PTSD. And he sat there in that office for over an hour with her, got her into the office on a ruse to begin with by telling her, well, if you don't want to prosecute, he told her in the field, if you don't want to have anything to do with this, then you're going to have to come down to the station and sign a refusal to prosecute form. So she agrees to, and this poor lady is like seriously tweaking hard. And you can see it in the video interview that Rocky Gregory does with her. You can find that video on YouTube under, it's either going to be under Bates Investigates YouTube or Holtzclaw Trial Holtzclaw Trial YouTube. It's in one of them. But the poor woman was, and I get people who have really, really, come at me for this, but I feel bad for what they did to Terry Morris. And so, excuse me. And yeah, I even have because I agree with Kay about Sherry Ellis. I think something did happen to her, and I think she was probably most likely assaulted by a black cop. And they twisted it. They twisted her story for her and helped her come up with a changed story, I guess, so to speak. And I agree, Kay, that during her deposition, she realizes, if she didn't before, she realized during her deposition that she identified the wrong person in a possible assault that had happened to her. She still has an opportunity, though, to come forward and express that and share that and tell that. I doubt that she will.
She had to know that in court. She had to point Daniel out and identify him.
Yeah. And she couldn't find him. She didn't know who it was.
She didn't identify him.
No, she didn't.
Never did.
Wow.
She couldn't find him. She didn't know who it was. They asked her to stand up. If you need to stand up so that you can find him and identify him, please do that. She stood up on the witness stand and could not identify Daniel.
Wow.
And now she had been stopped by Daniel before, so
yeah.
there's all the reason in the world for her to have recognized him.
But
But
she's thinking about her assault.
maybe, you know, 3 guys sitting at a defense table all dressed in suits, you know, it was probably a little intimidating to her being up there answering questions, knowing that your story's not exactly true. Maybe I
Yeah.
was raped, but I know that, you know, we fit this chain of events into a different place than it really happened.
Yeah.
Both things can't be true. She
Right.
wasn't raped by a short black man where where and when she says it happened. Those two things cannot exist together. So that's not true.
Mm.
Travis says Holtzclaw, now 36, continues to claim he is innocent. He has vowed to use new evidence from the civil cases to resume his fight against his criminal convictions. I still hope and believe that justice will prevail. That was a quote from Jenny. He said last September for a news release emailed to the media by his sister. Yeah.
That was a quote from Daniel.
Oh.
I think
from
that
the
was
Oklahoma
his
paper.
quote in his last press release.
Okay.
I believe that's a quote that he from the civil settlement
Right.
press release.
Oh, that's right, in the press release. Yeah, you know, this phrase repeated over 5 times, I believe, in her deposition. He never touched me. He never touched me. He didn't touch me. By Tabitha Barnes, and you know, he got 48 years on her. 8 of those years, for what she's saying there, he never touched me.
Insane.
Yeah, and I've shown that video several times, and I've shown the Sherry Ellis video several times. You can find them in the channel if you want to see them again. But it's just awful. It's awful, and get it right, Travis. I expected you to type it 5 times. Oh hell. Anyway, yeah, I mean, you know, just like with Stephen and Brendan, you know, we could talk about this for hours and hours. But I just wanted to give you a taste of what's to come in the trial by reading the preliminary. And you know, wherever there is a preliminary hearing for testimony, I want to show that first. I want you to see the police interview, the police report, what police interviews there are, recordings. And then I want you to see the police report, and I want you to be able to compare all of that with the preliminary, and then compare all of that and the preliminary to what they say at trial. And then at some point, we're going to take all of those things that they testify to and compare them to what gets said in the depositions when we get to have those. And we're going to see who was lying and who was doing the evil acts. And I fucking guarantee you 100%, I put my life on it, it was not Daniel. It was not Daniel. I don't expect anybody else to just follow my opinion or just believe what I'm saying. We are now in the process of trying to bring you this evidence, or this proof. I don't want to say evidence, the proof of what really happened, little by little, so that you know, you can just kind of peel it away a little at a time and see what really happened and what really the truth is. And at some point, we're going to go back around all of these accusers again, only hopefully by that time we'll be able to share the depositions. You know, if we ever get that opportunity to have deposition stuff that we can share with you guys. And you're going to see it's going to be even more clear. If it isn't already becoming clear or clear to you yet, by the time we come back around with all of the accusers again, you know, it would be hard for even a fence sitter, for sure, to still say that they believe Daniel's guilty. All I'm going to say about that. We're going to wrap it up. Jack has been silent most of the night. Are you awake, brother?
Oh yeah, I'm awake. And I feel bad. Well, not really. I don't really feel bad. I did stuff my face with a big cheeseburger and some tater tots
Good for
while
you.
y'all been talking. So I don't really feel too bad. A little bit though. No, I just been taking it all in.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Are there anything? You have any final comments about this interesting, colorful preliminary testimony?
I, yeah, I got plenty of comments. She's a train wreck. That's all I got. And you know, part of her testimony was she just wanted to divert. But I will give her this, at least in this part right here. She's better than what was that last one we did where they had to put her up in a hotel, and I can't remember. Was that Tabitha?
That was Tabitha Barnes. Yep, you're learning them, Jack.
Yeah, that one was really bad. At least, you know, Rosetta is a little more legible. She's still got problems. She's clearly got brain fry, but yeah, it was a interesting read for sure. Little plug for the rest of the week. Don't think there's any more lives planned, at least for now, until Saturday, where we'll be reading with the crew. And this coming Sunday, we're going to dive back into Brendan's case and listen to the en banc and the oral arguments and discuss that.
Ugh.
I know. But for Brendan, it was September.
We have to soldier through.
Yeah, it was September. Several years ago that this all took place. And I just feel that for him we should do it, as hard as it is. Anyway,
well, if he can spend all of his life in prison, I can listen to this shit show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty fucking bad. So, all right, that's all I got. Thank everyone for coming in and listening, and of course, all my sisters. They haven't strung me up tonight yet. It could happen after the show. You just never know. Anyway, thanks, Rhonda.
Thanks, Jack. Susan, have any comments that you'd like to share?
Oh, just, the usual frustrations with this case. I have hope for what do you call it? A new filing.
Post-conviction?
Yeah.
Post-conviction.
For post-conviction. That's all we can do. Hope and pray.
Yeah. Spread the word.
Something turns around.
And I'm thinking that turnaround will come, and it was kind of refreshing to hear or read from Travis that everything in depositions could be used as new evidence. So
yeah,
that made me feel good. So
yeah, there's some gems in there for sure.
Right, there definitely are, and we're going to do everything we can, whatever little bit that might be, to try to help with that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you reading. You do a great job, Susan, as always. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Rhonda. You bet. Anytime.
Of course. And Miss Katie did it. Do you have any comments or any words from Daniel lately, or?
No, I mean, Daniel's just back in the gym, focusing on getting stronger. His knees healed up, so he's able to get back to, increasing his weight. Not really anything going on. Just, he's just living that life of drudgery, and routine, and just trying to keep his body and mind strong. Um, but I was just thinking about, as we go through all these accusers again, man, it really, the way they set this case up, the way they crafted this case by, taking a true series chain of events and inserting the lie in the middle. It's just the hardest thing to disprove when they do things that way. And
Mhm.
I think they knew what they were, I think they knew that that makes it difficult, but I just hate to
Yeah.
think of it again, as I always do when we're going through each new person again. Anyway, look forward to reading the trial transcript next week, and
I'm sure it will be very, very interesting.
good to have
Um,
Travis in the comments, in the
yeah,
contributing too. So that's cool.
yeah, that was awesome. Thank you, Travis. We really appreciate that. Um,
And everyone else, not just Travis.
yeah, all those people that are coming in, from across the pond. We have Liam and everybody else that pops in as well. Colette and Under Your Scars, and I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I know Paul Ward was in for a few minutes, and so some people from Foul Play. So I appreciate you guys as well taking the time, giving me the time, giving us the time to share Daniel's case with you. So we really appreciate it. So we are going to do another Tuesday. It'll be next Tuesday at the same time, 5 p.m. Central. And we will start with trial transcripts. And like I said, it's probably going to be a little long. That's okay, though, because it'll be entertaining or informative, or a little of both, maybe. With all that being said, until next time, peace out.